Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. I'm your host, Jeff Crilley, and I'm delighted to have the folks from the Burns firm on the show today. Denis Burns, he is the president and managing director, and Art Goodwin, he is in business development at the firm, and I understand you just joined. Is that right?
I did, thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, well, give us an overview, Denis. We'll start with you. What is the Burns firm all about?
Great, thanks, Jeff. I'm glad to be here today. The Burns firm is a CPA and consulting firm in North Dallas. We're enjoying our 25th year of practice. So we do a lot of high-level tax work, compliance, filing tax returns, IRS controversy, tax opinions, those sort of things. And some of my clients have had merger and acquisition transactions. And so we developed years ago a merger and acquisition practice where we would use the expertise of the accounting firm and the tax issues in a transaction to minimize the taxes for our clients, who's generally the seller of a business. So we represent, in addition to the tax practice, sellers of businesses who want to transition their business and minimize their taxes and all of that process. You know, we're all baby boomers, or many of us are, and those businesses are getting mature, they need to be sold, and we're very experienced in how to produce the business for sale, get it ready, value it, negotiate it, show it in the best light, and minimize the taxes and maximize the money that the seller gets for the business.
That's awesome. Let's bring Art in on this. I imagine you're busy because with the baby boomers aging and selling their businesses, I read somewhere where we're about to experience the largest transfer of wealth in U.S. history.
You're absolutely right. And if you look at it, all of us here at the table are baby boomers, but from 1946 to 1964, there were 70 million baby boomers born. There's 62.5 alive. And 12 million of those are business owners. So this is a time where they're going through that question. If they're not passing it along to their children, what do I do next? And it's a process. It takes time and it takes trust. It's not something you just jump into and sell, and that's where we come into play.
Okay, we're going to roll a little bit of video. I was on your website, beautiful website, and I know you meet with a lot of people. When you meet with them, do you find that most of the time they're not ready to sell, that they just haven't done their homework beforehand?
You know, most business owners are not prepared to sell. And what happens a lot of times is they get an unsolicited offer from a vendor, for example, or an unsolicited offer from a competitor, or whatever. So they have this offer, and they're surprised and don't really know what to do with it. And that's where we come in, and we can help them prepare, because it's a lengthy process. From a tax standpoint, it could be as long as 5 years to prepare. Most business owners are not that forward-looking to think that they need to get everything ready 5 years in advance. They're just not. So it often comes from an unsolicited offer, or maybe they have health issues, or maybe they have a partner issue, or whatever. But it's generally comes quickly, but it takes some time to prepare for it, to negotiate it, to allocate the tax issues and price and all that.
And I guess you would say, Art, you should always be ready to sell, because you never know what happens. I mean, so you get hit by a bus, and now you can't run the company anymore, but you messed up, and you've got the company making like $0 for your own tax reasons. Would you agree?
I agree. It's everyone needs to ask themselves, what's my succession plan? Where am I going? One of the best examples, I recently joined the firm and met with a gentleman's third generation, and sat down with him. And after finishing, it really is relationship, like everything. And his comment was, "I like you. I have a warm fuzzy," and that's a term we use here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided to list with us. But then it's a matter of taking that time and going through financials. Oftentimes, owners have a bigger picture of themselves, and I like to give the analogy of a kitten looking in the mirror and they see a lion.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is maybe it's not worth that much, but I do like to ask them, what do you think you might get for this? And then somewhere in between is maybe where we fall.
Yes. Denis, tell me a story. What's one of your favorite stories from your career?
Oh, gosh, there's a lot of them. I've been doing this for 30 years, helping business owners transition their business. Probably one of my favorite stories is recently we take a deep dive into their accounting system and look at their expenses. And most business owners want to try to minimize their taxes as much as possible by taking whatever deductions they can. And I was looking through the general ledger, and I kept seeing lots and lots of security costs. And I saw one that stood out in particular was a vet bill for $5,000, and it was charged to security costs. And so I queried the owner. I said, help me understand this vet bill as part of security. He says, "Oh, that's my dog." And he had a funny name for the dog. I can't really remember. It's like, it was Tank. The dog's name was Tank. Tank was about a 90-pound Rottweiler.
Wow.
And I don't think Tank ever got to the business, but he was certainly at home a lot. But Tank was a very expensive security cost for them. And they also he was into hot rod cars, and he had a really nice hot rod Mustang that he had, and that was charged to the business. So the total of all that, and this is what's really important, when we went back and totaled up all those expenses that were not necessary for the next business owner, it totaled $400,000.
Wow.
So we were able to put $400,000 back into the calculation of the earnings of the company. And this company had a 6 times earnings. So the buyer said, well, I'll pay you 6 times your earnings that you can prove from me. So $400,000 times 6 times, we got the seller of the business an additional $2.4 million because
Wow.
we looked back in detail on his financial information. Of course, he was very happy about that. And I don't know, I guess Tank was happy too.
I imagine so. Art, what's your favorite story?
Well, again, I just came to the Burns firm, so I've been more in the turnaround side of the house. So
Sure.
one business not too long ago that I turned around, I grew from about 24 to 45 million in 3 years.
Wow.
And it was a declining business. And a lot of it is similar when you walk into the type of clients we have, where there was an owner and he owned the business for 40 years, and they just get complacent in what they could be doing to increase revenue, and really just change a few things and put some KPIs in place, put some accountability measures in place, and set the goals and objectives with the employees. And it sounds simple, and it is fairly basic, but it takes going through that regiment with them
Yes.
to get that focus.
I think you would agree with me. The 3 scariest letters in the alphabet are IRS. So let's talk about dealing with the IRS, because I think you help businesses through some of those troubles, right?
Right, all the time. So a lot of people, everybody has their own risk aversion. Some are highly risk adverse, some are not so much risk adverse. And so some people that if they, for example, see a notice from the IRS, they're very concerned. They can't sleep. Other people, if they don't see a notice from the IRS, they feel like they paid too much taxes. So with my firm being a CPA for the last 30 years, and I have a master's in tax, so we really focus on our tax practice and filing tax returns and minimizing people's taxes. And just as an aside, there's a new tax act that was passed, and we're still trying to understand it all. It's very favorable to business owners in a lot of different ways. So a lot of our advice that we gave as foundational to clients in the past has changed dramatically. And I would say to your listeners that if they haven't evaluated their own tax situation in light of the changes in the tax law, they really need to, because taxes are very different now. The rules that we had in place, they're changing, and our advice is very different than it was a few years ago. So the tax issues are significant, and we do that all day long, every day.
And Art, I think that's important because so many people they have a CPA over here, they got a tax guy over here, and you guys bring it all under one roof.
That's correct. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting today with one of our clients that is in the process of selling, and the main topic of our discussion is going to be what to do for taxes when someone buys and hands you a bucket of money. What do I do next?
Right.
And they truly they don't have an understanding of that. So we're going to walk them through that.
You know what I would do? I would buy a Rottweiler named Tank. That's what I would do with it, with a big pile of cash. We're going to go ahead and put your website up and let you give it a plug. How do people find you?
Yes, our website is fairly easy. It's www.theburnsfirm.com. That's BURNS, theburnsfirm.com.
Well, you guys have been great guests. Thank
Well,
you.
thanks.
Thank you both for being on the show, and we'll have to have you back.
Thanks,
for
Jeff.
having us.
Appreciate it.
All right. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.
All right.